on a public level. But I want to give you this final thing. I'm done. I did something different in this message that I'm going to mention to you in a moment. I did something different. But how many people here have cell phones? If you got your cell phone, raise your cell phone. Get your cell phone. Pull it out. Pull out, raise it. I want to see everybody got a cell phone. Throw your cell phone up in the air. Wave it like you just don't care. You got your cell phone. Look at all these cell phones up in here. Oh, who y'all calling in the choir? That's what I want to. Jesus is on the main line. Got your cell phone. The cell phones that we have, in order for those cell phones to be produced, most of the cell phones that we have, you need a mineral called coltan. A mineral called coltan. Much of this mineral comes from the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The Congo was at one time was a Belgian colony. In 1960, they declared their independence, and a gentleman by the name of Patrice Lumumba became prime minister. Patrice Lumumba went to Ghana and sat at the feet of the father of Pan-Africanism named Kwame Nkrumah. Kwame Nkrumah is our school down the street is named after the father of Pan-Africanism. And when he realized, sitting down with Kwame Nkrumah, he could go back to the Congo and the Congo could grow and develop. But because there was so much money at stake, because the majority, one of the richest countries on the planet is the Congo. The Belgium and the U.S. government, it was Dwight Eisenhower, got with the National Security Office, and they said that this man needs to be eliminated, and they passed information to the rebel forces in the Congo, and they found Patrice Lumumba, and they assassinated him. And then a gentleman by the name of Mobutu became to power, and the U.S. gave him over $300 million to oppress his own people, to make sure gold and silver and coltan would continue to flow to Europe and the United States and Australia. And then in 1997, when Mobutu died of cancer, there was another person who came to power by the name of Kabila. And Kabila then eventually died, but a civil war ensued. And in order to finance the civil war, because cell phones were exploding at that time, they would mine coltan. Doesn't seem like much, but in order to, this cell phone you have, this cell phone I have, it has coltan in it. In order to get that coltan, they would kidnap children to mine the coltan in the Congo. In the last 10 years or so, 5.4 million children have been murdered in the Congo. 5.4 million people, I'm sorry, have been murdered in the Congo. Almost 50% of them children. That every time you purchase your cell phone, you finance the oppression of a child, of a country. And there was a particular law that was attempting to be passed in the U.S. Congress that kept dying. It was called the Conflict-Free Coltan Law. So that no company in the United States could receive coltan from the Congo or any other area where children are being used, where it was being financing a civil war, where murder was going on, all of that. And this war that is going on, 5.4 million people. Let me explain it this way. In World War II, 400,000 people died. In the Civil War, 500,000 people. 5.4 million people. Larger than any other conflict, any other war since World War II. More people have died in the Congo than any other conflict in the last 40 years combined. But no one has heard a thing, because it's happening in Africa, in the Congo, and there's so much money at stake. Coltan. So this is what we are asking. Did this last week.
So we, you know, we can take a few things from this Coltan experience, and we can easily relate it to dog culture. And one thing I'll say is if you really care about children and you really want them to be safe, you would do your best to keep them away from danger. You will do your best to keep them safe. You will do your best to teach them right from wrong. But in the society that we have today, even though we know over 4.5 million children are bitten every year, a lot of children are killed every year by these dogs worldwide. But yet, society in general, the government, the dog nutters, the dog owners, the dog lovers, parents that own children and dogs, they will continue to allow dogs to, I guess, coexist. Allow dogs to coexist with these worthless mutts. And it makes no sense that you're going to keep them safe from A to Y, but then you're still going to let Z keep them in danger. When you know what can happen, when you are aware of what can happen, they are still going to allow these dogs, any dog, I don't care if it's a pit bull, a weird looking bully breed, a lap dog, I really don't care what the type is, but they're going to allow these dogs to remain in the presence, in the home, in their neighborhoods with these dogs. And I've said this before, I'm going to say it again. You don't have to be living in the same household to get attacked by dogs. You don't even have to be on your own property. You could be on school property. And a dog goes roaming free. That dog comes onto the school property, ends up attacking you. And it happens now and then, and yet we don't learn. I'll say we don't learn, but the dog nutters, the dog lovers, they don't learn. The government, the societies, they don't learn. They just like with this Coltan issue, is where they will put a blind eye and act like if it's not happening, because they're making a lot of money from it. And it's the same with dog culture. Knowing that dogs attack children quite frequently, they will turn a blind eye to the blood spill, to the fatalities of dogs against children. It's sort of the same thing. Obviously, very different in subjects, but we can say it's the same thing it has some relations in the terms of child endangerment. Even put this as like even child enslavement. In the terms of putting of turning your head, closing your eyes to the dangers, and acting like if nothing has happened, when every day worldwide these dogs have been attacking children. The topic of this is babies, saving babies from dogs. Again, this should not be happening. It should not be happening. We should not have babies, as in children, even teenagers, out there saving a child, a baby, from dogs. That should not be happening. They should not be happening. No child should even be a hero in that sense, in such a a real life tragic sense. They should not be that type of hero. They could wear their Superman costumes, Spider-Man costumes. That's fine. Let them pretend they're a hero, but they should not be a hero when it comes to saving other children from dogs. It should not be happening. And when it does, just like with this coltan issue, I've known about this for quite some time, even when it first released 12 years ago. And it only has 12K views, and I've known about this for a very long time. And this only has 2K views, only 31 likes. This subject is not spoken about. It's not known because, again, I get it. We all have phones. I have phones. Again, I'm not sure if they're actually still using coltan for phones. I really don't know, but it's an issue that should be known worldwide. And apparently, I would say it's not. And it's just like with dog culture and these dogs. A lot of the stupidity, the mental illness, the tragedies are not known. The news will cover it, but you go out there and you ask people, do a survey. Do you know about the recent dog attack? Or do you know about the, let's say, the Drake and, whatever that guy's name, the Lamar guy beef? And I guarantee you, ask 100 people, all 100 people will know about the Drake and Lamar beef. You could even ask a granny, someone in a nursing home, if they know about the recent dog attacks or about the Drake or Lamar beef. And a lot of them would say, or all of them would say, they know a lot about the Drake and Lamar beef. So just because news covers these dog attacks, it means nothing. Because change isn't going on. It's not being exposed as it should be. And using the Drake and the Lamar as a perfect example is that people care more about that so-called beef more than children getting attacked by dogs. That is ridiculous. That is ridiculous. And imagine if we all knew about these dog attacks. Imagine if we all didn't, allow these dogs to get a chance to attack, I'm going to say, our children. These dogs would cease to exist. But since we're so ignorant and blind to the reality of dogs, we continue to endanger our children. Even if the dog doesn't attack, it is still child endangerment. It's like, having a child in a baby seat and not buckling up the seat or the baby properly. You drive for miles and the child doesn't get in an accident, and you pull over and you tell the cop, hey, the child didn't get hurt. The cop will still say that is child endangerment. You are being reckless just because you didn't get in a car accident or the child wasn't hurt. So even if you have this dog for years and the dog has never attacked the child or your babies or another child, it is still child endangerment. It is still reckless. But in this society, it is vastly worshipped. Dogs are worshipped. These bully breeds are worshipped. We hear about attacks to children dying. And that's it. That's it. A lot of these dog nuts, bully breeds, they don't care. They may actually do care for that second or that minute or that day, but by the next day or next second or whatever, they just forget and they just only care and prioritize that dog. A lot of these articles, they'll have this blurb and say investigation underway. You come back years later and you'll see that same blur with no update to the story. No update whatsoever. I guess not all of them, but some of them, a couple of them will get updates, but a lot of them will just say a dog attacked and killed the child. End of story. Again, purpose of this video, again, we should not be having babies saving babies from dogs. It should not be happening. Superman. If those of you who are familiar with Superman, any comic book readers or movies, cartoons, Superman, again, if based on the movie, again, he's a symbol of hope. But Superman is a symbol of good, of making the right choices, of helping people, saving people, and again having that moral. And in the comics, movies, etc., this guy will save people from the littlest things, from either slipping on a marble, to car accidents, to plane accidents. This guy will save them all. So we're going to go a little bit of a fantasy land here. Imagine in the DC world, the DC universe, pit bull attacks, dog attacks do happen every day like they do in the real world. And, Superman from time to time will save children from these dog attacks. I think Superman would speak up against them and say, hey, no more dogs. No more dogs, or at least have another solution for them. Because so many children are getting hurt. It's the same with these villains. If a lot of these villains that keep coming back, Superman will take a stand and say, hey, no more villains. Depending on the version, he may kill these villains, or he may send them or lock them up somewhere so they can't hurt anyone else. But if these dogs continue to remain in, let's say, in the DC universe, and Superman keeps seeing them hurting people, I think he'd be a little bit fed up here. He would be fed up. He'd probably give up as well. He'd be like, I cannot change these dog nutters. I cannot change the government. And sometimes he does say that he can't change villains. That's just the way they are. And you'd have to give up. He would be fed up with having to save children, people, anyone every day around the world from dog attacks. Because there's so many worldwide. There's just too many. And again, we should not be having babies. Saving babies from dogs, it should not be happening. Shouldn't have that. And in many events in history till now, many cultures, many countries, we've had children warriors, children soldiers fighting, dying, gangs, you name it. And what do we say? Hey, no, this is wrong. Children, they will say children are supposed to be playing, riding their bikes and all that stuff and having fun. But when it comes to dogs and having them coexisting with dogs, why aren't they saying that? Why aren't they saying that when in that situation? Instead, they will let dogs and children coexist. They will place dogs on their child. They will force their child to pet dogs. When that is, again, dangerous and reckless. Again, being a warrior and owning dogs, whatever, again, it's two different things. But there's some similarities. Both are just reckless. It's an endangerment. It's dangerous. Again, and we should not be having children to be taking part in these wars or things like that. Even in this coltan war and mining, we shouldn't have that. A lot of people, even dog nutters, will have some compassion and be like, hey, this is awful. This should not be happening. But yet, these are the same people that will place their pit bull on top of their child, take pictures, mocking the victims that have died, mocking the children that have died, maybe not saying out loud, but saying, hey, at least my dog isn't attacking. Yours did, mine didn't, so haha, that's what they're saying, but they're not really saying it. But that's what they want to say. But if they say it, they'd really show people how psychotic they are. And they don't want to be too obvious about their mental illness, so they keep it at bay. Again, for many years in history, children have taken part in wars. There are soldiers from as young as 6, I believe, to as old as 18, either being forced or volunteering or whatever, forced to go to war. And, governments around the world, whatever one they call them, they were like, hey, no, this should not be happening. This should not be happening. So they stop it for the most part. Obviously, it happens, still going on, but it's, they speak up about it. But it's not the same with dogs. Dogs attack, and it's just like, hey, dogs attack, who cares? But anyways, again, the topic again is like babies. We should not have. We should not be having babies save babies from dogs. It should not be happening. We should not, in a real event, be calling children heroes. If we're doing so, then there is a problem. There is some neglect, there is abuse, something is wrong. It is fine as imaginary as play, that is fine, but we should not be calling our children superheroes in a real sense. But let's hear what they have to say on this subject.
Here's Todd Battis with a boy named Bridger.
Imagine the pain this boy must be in. Still, in no photo does Bridger Walker look sad or scared. When the dog charged his sister, he stepped in. It latched on him. There was surgery, 90 stitches, a black eye, and swollen face.
This is a message for Bridger.
A shout-out came from none other than Captain America, actor Chris Evans. Big deal for a 6-year-old who idolizes the Avengers.
Pal, you're a hero. What you did.
I'm sorry, Cap. You know, you're one of the best Caps, best superhero actors, whatever. But we should not again not be calling any child a superhero or a hero again in a real sense. Again, if we're doing so, then there is a problem. There is a problem in the environment.
You're so brave, so selfless. Your sister is so lucky to have you as a big brother.
The boy from Wyoming, often in Marvel character clothing, wears his scars like a badge of bravery. Evans, who plays a superhero, praised what was a real act of courage.
I'm going to send you an authentic Captain America shield because, pal, you deserve it. Keep being the man you are. We need people like you.
Bridger's instinct to protect his 4-year-old sibling came less perhaps from watching superheroes than from his other passion. Come on, Bridger! He competes in martial arts and told his parents if someone was going to die, it wouldn't be his sister. And though the boy didn't want the dog hurt, its owners chose to put it down. His injuries will heal, the hurt will fade, and the legend of Bridger Walker's heroism will grow.
And I'm going to talk about this later on in the video of, of people or actors or whatever, using gifts as hush, of giving gifts to these, so-called heroes, just to keep their mouths shut, basically. The recent story that, again, this is the story that really, caught my eye to the title of Babies Saving Babies. This just happened recently. Schoolboy screamed as he was savaged by XL bully after saving brother and sister. Again, brave boy 11 was viciously attacked after running at an XL bully to draw it away from his brother and sister. Again, this should not be happening. Maybe to a real human bully, but we should not have children stepping up against bully breeds. And if we have children stepping up towards bully breeds, then where is the supervision? Where are their parents? Where are the children's parents? Where is the owner of this dog? And that means there is a problem. But again, they will use various word salad or word gymnastics and sugarcoat situations like this just so they don't make the dog feel bad. They say the snarling dog approached them. Theo drew the dog away from his brother and sister. The mom 41 said the dog chased him around a parked car before lunging forward and locking onto the back of his right thigh. Theo's leg was pouring with blood. He was shaking with fear, screaming, "Help me!" My other children were both shaking and screaming. The owner of the worthless mutt managed to pull it away, but it left a deep cut and 5 puncture wounds on Theo, which were stitched in hospital. Medics told Tina, had the dog been Theo elsewhere, it could have been fatal. And if this child had did the same acts and he had died, would they still be calling him a hero, or would they just be saying this is just another regular attack? Like we always hear every single time, they do nothing, dog attacks. Oh, we don't know what happened. The dog just, automatically just started attacking. The children triggered the dog. The children did something. All this nonsense. They also mentioned the traumatic event has affected the whole family. She said the attack in Newport, South Wales on June 30th had taken its toll on Theo, but that the keen rugby and football player cannot wait to get back on the pitch. And the end. So again, these a lot of these dog nutters think that these news media outlets, these articles are against these dogs, but they really say nothing about the dog. They said nothing about the dog, but these dog nuts, pit nutters, they don't get it that the media is really on their side. They really want to promote these dogs, and they think that the media is against them. But look at this article. Tell me where in this article are they against dogs, or against bully breeds, or against XL bullies, or against pit bulls. No, all they do is talk about a baby being a hero, putting himself in danger to save 2 other lives. And we're not questioning how this could happen, why this is happening, why does this continue to happen. But they want to call this child a hero. No, he's a victim. All 3 of them are victims. They are not heroes. We need to stop having babies saving babies from dogs. If that is the case, then something in the environment is not right. Something is not safe. Something is not secure. There is either no supervision, no owners, no parents. Something is wrong. But again, in every situation, the dog is involved. The dog is involved. The dog is involved. In these attacks. And then when our babies save another baby from attack, we want to call them heroes? Which I think is nonsense. And there are plenty, more stories of babies saving babies from attacks. And again, it should not be happening. Should not be happening. This just happened this month. Heroic boy, 8 saves little sister, 6 from a horrific pit bull attack. I didn't want her to die. We should not be talking about this. This should not be a topic. This should not be a topic of conversation. Where we're discussing babies, saving babies from dogs. And the reason why we have these so-called heroic boys or girls saving other babies is because we're allowing dogs to remain in our communities. As long as they're there, there is going to be problems. And a lot of you dog nuts, we can agree on, a lot of these owners are bad owners. They're so bad. So again, how can we weed out them? We really don't. There's no way to weed out these bad owners unless their dog attacks. And that's why we cannot trust you dog owners. We cannot trust a dog lover. We can't trust them. But in reality, a lot of people, even children, they end up trusting these dog lovers, these dog owners. They're parents with these dogs. And guess what happens nearly every single time? Child endangerment, child is attacked. Every time. And not a lot of these stories end or have stories or have events where another child actually saves another child from getting killed by a dog. It doesn't always end like this. It doesn't always end like this. But the fact remains that we have babies saving babies from dogs. Babies saving babies from dogs. And a lot of dog nutters, they can't see what's wrong with this enormous picture. They don't see what's wrong. They can't see what's wrong. They don't want to see it. They refuse to see it. Because if they see it, then they're going to have to question their dog nuttery. They're going to have to, be honest about dogs. They're going to have to look at the reality that we have children saving children from dogs, and that should not be happening. But then we're going to blame the owner. We can't keep blaming owners all the time. It's not working because it's not preventing attacks. Because we're always blaming the owner after an attack happens. We gotta stop doing that. And the only solution that works is to erase dogs on this earth. I mean, if we have to lock them up in some, that is anti-escape proof, cell, so be it, and let them rot in there. But we gotta keep them away from our children, keep them away from the community. To have stories like this, it's ridiculous, and it only makes dog culture look bad. And that's the thing with dog culture. It's like they don't feel any shame. They don't feel any embarrassment or any kind of humiliation walking with dog shit, having to clean up after these nasty dogs, to live in a home with a dog. They don't have any type of shame about that. They will continue to indulge in it. And my guess is because, again, they mentally they block it out. They block out the nastiness, the factual nastiness about dogs. They block it out and they just kind of tolerate it. They tolerate it, knowing that it's disgusting. They know it's disgusting, but they tolerate it for the sake of these worthless mutts, because they themselves know deep down, every single dog nutter knows that dogs are worthless, they're dumb, and they're brain damaged mutants. They know that. That's why they like and they want dogs, because they're dumb and they're worthless. When something is dumb and worthless, they're always going to rely on something else. In the case of dogs, they're always going to rely on these dog nuts. And these dog nutters, they love that attention from dogs. They love that dogs are needy. They want that. They want to help dogs. They want dogs to give them the attention. They want that. Because if dogs were smart, like example cats or birds, these dog nuts would cease to exist because they're not getting a certain amount of attention, a certain amount of reaction from these dogs that make them feel a certain way. They need dogs to be worthless. They need dogs to be dumb. And I think a lot of these dog nuts, that's the reason why they hate cats, because cats are independent. They're more isolated. They're not clingy. They're not needy. They don't need that much of attention. And a lot of these dog nuts, they don't like that. That's why they seek the dog, because the dog is dumb and worthless, and that dog is going to provide them with a specific kind of attention. And that's probably why they hate children as well. A lot of these dog nuts, a lot of them hate children, because children, they have that stage where they're a child, they're a baby, they're a child, they're needy as a baby, little needy as a child, and they grow up and they're like, I don't need you anymore. And a lot of dog nuts, parents, etc., they don't like that. They want to be needed. They want that, attention, that specific needy attention. And that specific needy attention you could only get from babies, I guess, and dogs. And babies, as in human babies, aren't always gonna stay. They're not gonna stay babies forever. They're gonna grow up out of that stage. Some quicker than most, some quicker, some slower than others, but they will grow out of that stage. And once they grow up, and etc. Again, once they grow up, they're not gonna need their parents or their mom and dad and all of that. They're not gonna be needy and whatever. They're going to have their own way of doing things. They're going to be disobedient, etc. You know what they do. But again, with dogs, they have the puppy stage, and then they have the they're just bigger stage. But these dogs, they remain in a puppy stage, and that puppy stage is dumb and worthless. Every natural animal you see out there, they have a baby stage, then they're adults, then they gain independence, they leave the pride, leave the pack, whatever, leave the nest. They're able to work for themselves, to survive for themselves. But dogs, they're puppies, but they pretty much remain puppies because they're so dumb and they're so worthless and they're so needy and they need attention. So dogs, they never grow out of that puppy stage, because they're always going to be needy and they're always going to need some sort of attention. And that's what dog nutters, dog lovers want. Because again, it's probably due with some, again, I'm not a doctor, but most likely has to do with some like mental issues in their head or attachment issues, things like that, drugs, all that, as a factor. I think a lot of these dog nuts have been bullied in school. Parents probably didn't like them, so they look for, this love, or look for this certain kind of attention. Again, they can only get that attention from these worthless mutts. And they're willing to, pick up dog shit for these worthless mutts just to get that attention. That again proves how nasty, disgusting, vile, and reckless these dog nutters are. And yet some of them think that they're great. They're these bosses. They're tough and all that, but no, you're a punk. You're disgusting, and you're just a dog nutter. And obviously you're probably good at a lot of things, but in my eyes, once I see you as a dog nutter, you're just a dog nutter. That's it. Even if you save my life, or even if you are a millionaire, or you own your own company, if I find out that you're a dog nutter, that's all you are to me. You're just a dog nutter in my eyes. Oh yeah, and again, the last thing, this story happened years ago. Sort of read through it or had the video on it before. Little child, boy saved his sister. And, these actors, this is just one case where these actors are pretty much giving this kid gifts for saving his sister. And I think this is just a form of kind of like hush money. It's like a form of hush money to keep the kid quiet regarding dogs, to make sure he continues to be a dog nutter. And we should not be discussing this matter of children saving children from dogs. It's just, I'm not going to read all this, but it's pretty much they're giving this child gifts for they're giving this child gifts basically for sacrificing himself for himself and his sister. They're giving this child gifts to because his parents and the owners endangered them. And it's like, to me, it's like hush money. You don't want this kid to be a dog hater. You don't want this kid to be anti-dog. So you give him hush gifts so he can still remain a dog nutter. But they did mention in the video that he still likes dogs. Who knows if that's true? Because we didn't actually hear the child say that. They said that they said that the child said that. Maybe this kid has a totally different perspective of dogs after this event. But the parents, news media, and these celebs, again, they use hush gifts. They will, they will kind of twist his words. The parents will kind of coach him on what to say or what not to say, just to save these worthless mutts. This kid, not just this kid, but sorry, I shouldn't say kid. This child. It's not just that child. It's this child. It's all of these children. Risking their lives, then being called a hero when they didn't have to be in the position that they are in. And in a lot of cases, the child never survives. The child is badly disfigured. But they'll still call the child a hero. But they will let these villains, aka the dog owners and the dogs, remain in the community and society. It's kind of like, the superhero cartoons or TV shows, where they always have to have some way to release a villain. They have to find a way to release a villain so they can keep causing trouble, so they can have a plot, have a story to tell. The villain will get locked up and somehow he gets released or he escapes prison or wherever he is. So they can have another story to tell between the hero and the villain. And in this dog culture and society today, it's kind of the same thing. We have one event of a dog attacking and or killing, but we allow the other dogs to remain just so we can have these stories. And not just these stories, the medical bills, other dog bills that they may have to pay. So there's it's these stories aren't free. These stories are not free. Someone is getting something out of this. Whether the child has been dead or not, someone is getting something out of this. Either a new story or money or something else. But yeah, hope whatever I said makes any sense whatsoever. We should not have babies saving babies from dogs. It should not happen. And if it's happening, and it is happening, that means there's something wrong in the environment. That means there's something wrong with the parents, something wrong with the owners, something wrong with the community. And that something is dogs and dog owners, because they're allowing these dogs to exist. And if Superman had to save, hundreds of children a day from dogs, I think Superman would be fed up about that. He'd be like, hey, enough is enough. We shouldn't keep allowing these villains, the dog or the dog owners, to exist in our community. There has to be a better way. And Superman has like this no killing code, again, depending on the version that you watch or read. And he'd be like, there has to be a better way of dealing with these worthless mutants. And I think Superman probably wouldn't want to kill them, but if he has to, I think he will. But I think Superman would want these worthless mutts locked up in some sort of prison. And at least that is something. That's something. But instead, in reality, we allow these dogs to exist as if nothing happened. All these dogs do attack their owners or their children, and they will keep the dog. They may not keep this dog, but they'll get another dog that's similar and allow it to reside in the community. So again, we are not learning. They are not learning. They don't care about the children's safety. They only care about dogs. And which is why from time to time we're going to have babies saving babies from dogs, which should not happen, and it really should not happen. But the fact remains that these dog nutters, again, I know they have their issues, but to simplify it, they just don't care about this issue. But anyways, I am Gore the Dog Butcher with another Worthless Mutts, and please remember that it's okay to hate dogs.